both very much. Okay, next up, item 10, the hearings panel. So do the team want to come forward and... Yeah, just 2 seconds. So, yeah, no, we mentioned that. So let's stop. Yeah, so let's just, everyone take a deep breath. What we're going to have is Melanie will introduce it. She's indicated she's going to move, and Mark will second. The Mayor's indicated he's got an amendment to Litchfield Street, which we will put before we vote on the whole thing.
I don't know if it's a foreshadowed, is it?
No, it's an amendment.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So Melanie will introduce it. Then we will take questions from staff if they are necessary. Then we will put the amendment. Then we will vote on the whole thing, and we will have one debate. I don't want to relitigate this. Right. So Melanie, over to you.
Thank you, and thanks for doing this today so we don't drag this out till August. That's really good. So, you know, a lot of this is obviously already in the report. This has been quite a long process. You can see on page 119, like the consultation process. This started back in over a year ago, back last April, and lots of key stakeholders were talked to by staff before they were really looking at how they were going to work around the options around Te Kaha streets. And it became quite clear during that Litchfield Street to the west was sort of the key contentious part of this whole plan. So they had put in a heap of work before this even got towards the hearings panel. We, as a panel, we met 6 times. It was very long. We met over for 6 weeks, and it was very thorough. We listened to a range of submitters that came to talk to us, and I just wanted to thank all the people that did turn up to talk to us in person. We really appreciated that. As a panel, we worked really hard, and we asked a huge number of questions, which you'll be able to see attached to the report. And I just wanted to thank the panel members, Tyrone, Sarah, Mike and Yanni doing the table there, for all the work that we put in. I also wanted just to thank the staff as well who put so much effort in. They answered all our questions, and then they went to work on another option and looked at the safety assessment and all the other stuff that you guys did, so thank you. Option 3 came about as a result of that submission process. There was a range of views on Litchfield Street. The rest of it was relatively uncontentious, and we tried to put the best of both worlds together, really. I personally found that actually quite a challenge because a lot of submitters, it was very clear for west of Litchfield that people were quite happy with option 1, including majority of businesses that were along that stretch. And as a result, compared to option 2, we added in mobility spaces. People talked about accessibility for people. We added in a P10 parking space because people from the businesses wanted a space for short-term parking on the street. So we responded to those. There's a table on page 118, you'll see, that has a comparison of all the 3 options. We also, as a panel, actually had a much further detailed, my thing's going to try and restart, a much more detailed table as well. We actually got staff to go and work out areas of garden space and footpath versus where tables and chairs can be for outdoor dining and things like that. So we really wanted to get full information so we could make a really informed decision. So the end result was that the hearings panel recommendation, which was far from predetermined, was what you can see that's on page 110. I actually was worried we wouldn't get to an outcome during the deliberations on the day. We had a couple of us had the same order of preference for those 3 options. The rest of them all had different. So it was actually incredibly challenging to come to this decision today, and well, that you can see before you today. What we did come up with in the end was that it was really straightforward for all the other streets we looked at: Madras, Barbados, Chilham and Litchfield Street East. And then for the west we put forward option 3 as our preferred, with the backup of option 1. And just remember that Litchfield Street will be undergoing street works due to the renewal of Three Waters infrastructure there, so it makes sense to be doing some work along the street when it gets resealed. So we've got option 1 as the backup, as it still provides that pedestrian-friendly streetscape. It was preferred during consultation, but it also, we acknowledge, it comes at a lower cost than option 3. So if council decides it's not keen to spend the extra around $1 million on that, then option 1 is a backup that they can choose. So that's my introduction. Like I said, I'm happy to move.
Thank you, Mel. That's really, really useful and presents a good report of the work the hearings panel have done. Now, I'm thinking we probably best to do questions of the team first, if people have got questions, noting the report's quite comprehensive. Mark Peters. Yep. Does anyone have any questions for the staff? Aaron? Yep. And then Phil? Yep.
Yeah, just a couple on the design, because I couldn't tell from the images and that on each of the intersections around the stadium, we're putting in pavers, cobblestones. That's those ones, eh?
In terms of tactile pavers, or are you talking about?
No, on the entire intersection, they're kind of all blocked out.
So they're not raised in sections; they're just defined intersections.
That was the question. So none of them. It just says to your brain, this is different. It's an intersection. Expect other stuff. Cool. That was that one for now. Yes. Yes. So my follow up to that is, can that change? Do staff have delegation to just switch them to raised platforms?
We actually don't have the ability to make them raised platforms. We had considered that as an option, but we've had to rule it out. The drainage in that area doesn't suit, stormwater doesn't suit the possibility of a raised platform in the area.
So that was looked at very early on in the design, and it's principally, as Jenny says, around the drainage issues with those frontage properties, especially along Madras Street. It's very flat there, and in terms of achieving that level access to Kaha and the floor levels for that, it was quite complex in order to deliver any raised tables there without creating flooding and drainage challenges for stormwater.
Okay, that's that one. Thank you.
Phil?
Yeah, this is just Litchfield Street I want to talk about. Where I know option 3 is $1.2 million dearer. How much is option 1 to start with that I can add the 1.2 onto? Roughly, don't have to tell me. I know it'll be in the table, but I'm just talking for the people out in TV land.
So just say roughly 3.6 million, and then for option 3 it goes up. Oh, sorry, I got that wrong. 4.07 million, and it goes up to 4.4 million in the option 3. So option 1, 4.07, and option 3, 4.4.
It's not right.
Roughly speaking.
1.2 million difference.
1.2.
It's not right.
I did give you the wrong. 3.6
3.6.
to 4.4.
Okay, no, that's fine. Now, because what I've got to.
So sorry, Phil.
Yes.
Just in my stupid question mind, and I'll come back to you. Can we just be very, very clear on, because I got that as an $800,000 increase, not a 1.3. So can we just be very, very clear on option 1's price and option 3's price?
So based on October 2022,
Yep.
Litchfield Street came in at 4 mil. Oh, so this is our estimates.
We talk about option 1 and option 3.
Option 1 and option 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a think.
There's a
and
table, sorry to butt in, but there's a table on page 124, 8.3 that says Litchfield, I understood was 5.2 million.
5.2.
That's what this table says.
If you need a couple of minutes, that's fine. It would just be good to really clarify what that increase in cost is, and it's okay if you do.
I just need a calculator.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's take 5 minutes while
Okay.
they. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't rush. Right, turn it off.
Change the numbers now.
No, like Phil can keep going with his questions if you've got any more questions.
Yeah, I've got some more questions.
Can one of the team just go and rally up whoever's missing, which I think is just Mark and Kelly and Aaron.
Far be it from...
No, these guys are. Tara, we've got staff, we can do that.
Yeah, you don't.
We
you
don't
you
have to send the councillors out to find people.
Yes.
But thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
Here they are.
Our apologies for that.
it's okay. It's better to get it
So,
right now.
So the answer actually is within the council papers today, and was one of the issues that the hearings panel debated. Obviously, around the cost of these, it was item question 68, which you have in your papers today. So option 1, this is Lichfield Street West. That's between Manchester Street and Madras Street. Option 1 cost was 3.3 million, give or take 3.26 million, and option 3 is 4.488 million. So basically that is the increase of 1.2 million between options 1 and option 3.
Great, thank you. That's really useful.
So my question is, because I've got the breakdown on how you achieve the 1.2, and I would have thought that option 1 would have had a footpath, would have had drainage upgrade, would have had streetscape landscaping in it. And the one thing I can't understand between option 1 and option 3 is why we're ripping out a quarter of the asphalt and turning it into concrete, which is another 225,000. It's a lot of. It seems a lot of cost for not a lot of win. You know what I mean?
My microphone didn't turn on. Option 3, the difference being that it's a two-way slow speed zone, so 10 kilometres an hour, two-way. What the safe system assessment told us was, in order to achieve a safe outcome with that 10 and try and achieve that slow speed environment, we needed to make it look like it wasn't just a two-way normal street, because people drive the standard 30 or 50 kilometres an hour through there. So we have to achieve, by means of kind of changing the surface texture, a slow speed environment. So if you think about outside Cambridge Terrace or Oxford Terrace, you know, there's paved areas where you generally go slower because you think, oh, it's not a tar sealed road, it must be a slow speed environment. So we try and have to put that into place to make it a safer place for people to maintain that two-way flow.
Okay. All right. Okay. Oh well.
Sarah? Yep.
Thanks. Just to make it clear for people, so Lichfield Street is due to be the main thoroughfare to Kaha, is that right? And if we don't do anything to Lichfield Street, what are the likely additional costs that people organising the concerts, so Venues Otatahi and concert promoters, will have to bear every time there's anything even mid-size or large happening there?
So we can't specifically talk to the detailed costs around that because they're not known yet. But it is the core pedestrian connection between the bus interchange and Te Kaha. And so we know that everybody arriving at Te Kaha will be a pedestrian within 200 metres of the stadium. There's no parking on site at Te Kaha, so everybody will have to arrive there by either private motor vehicle to a parking building or by PT. So a large volume of people will be utilising Lichfield Street on that particular block because the bus interchange is located there. There's 2 parking buildings located there, and it is a key route out of the central city. So, yes, so the reality is the costs associated with managing that high volume of people going down that street will be increased if we do not have a wide enough place for them to congregate and a safe means for them to travel between those facilities and Te Kaha.
Do you remember what the original stuff from Venues Otatahi was? It was about 400,000, wasn't it, a year?
Yeah, that was an estimate that they gave us based on kind of the figures they had with Orange Theory and operating their other venues. And then to locate this in Central City, obviously we've had to kind of make a bit of a guesswork on projecting those numbers. So we don't know the true figures until it comes out, but we're estimating that.
So So in many ways, the event traffic management plan report, which has been independently prepared for Te Kaha, which we shared with the hearings panel, I believe you have in your papers today, it's really all about the number of events and the scale of events at Te Kaha that really warrant streets being closed and traffic diversions in order to deliver a safe and good arrival and departure experience for patrons. And so it's almost not just about the costs within Litchfield Street, but the number of times that you need to close the street in order to deliver a safe environment. So the recommended scheme before you today from the hearings panel recommends a low-speed shared space zone that actually reduces the number of times that the smaller to design scale events, so that's a Super Rugby game, the sort of events that are happening once a month, give or take. So it reduces the need for Litchfield Street to be closed on those occasions, because every day.
Okay, I'm just keen to
it's a
keep
safe environment.
really good points. Melanie's got a question.
And just the last one is,
Yes.
while the focus is often on Te Kaha and games and those kind of things, this is actually Litchfield Street's in the middle of, or adjacent to the East Frame. And so it's ending up being do we have any idea of how many people are going to be living, actually, this is their neighbourhood sort of space within a couple of hundred
The
metres of
projection
it?
is, I think, about 900 dwellings within the East Frame. And so, we've met with one of the developers who's looking at one of those super lots there. They're obviously very interested in how Litchfield Street will be. They see advantages in that being a really pleasant pedestrian environment space there in terms of marketing those residential properties. They believe it's a good fit.
Thank you.
Melanie.
The other thing that came up with the safety assessment as well was quite interesting about option 2 in the current streetscape on Litchfield Street. I was just wondering if you could talk to that, because it hasn't really been brought up. Really, almost as part of exploring that alternative option, we went out and we sought a further independent safety assessment. And when the independent team went out there and looked at it, they identified in that report a number of existing problems there. You've got fast food takeaways, you've got degrees of double parking going on. It's not a great environment for people to walk through there. It's not a great environment for those premises that are operating along there. And so the scheme put forward before you today actually attempts to deal with a number of those issues they identified. That's why this option 3 includes more servicing and loading, speciality servicing and loading zones. It also includes 2 specific mobility parking bays there. And that's pretty much in line with Council's approach to managing on-street parking in the central city. Effectively, as we discussed with the panel at the time, the sort of arrangement you might get to there is something similar to Riverside Market, further west on Litchfield Street, where there are a couple of parking bays there that Uber drivers and so on can use, pick up food, move away, and it actually manages really well. And I think Riverside are happy with how that works. And so a similar approach there.
So Aaron, and then Andre, and then I'm keen to have a question
so
for Phil and then move it along. Yeah.
I'm still struggling on the number of people we're projecting that will use Litchfield Street. How did we come up with that when there's an incredible, beautiful boulevard on Cashel, and if anyone's staying in a hotel, they're not going to go past Cashel to get to Litchfield, they'll just come straight up Cashel. And people that have come to, and the reason for putting Te Kaha in town was that there'd be the flow on to all the other businesses. So the expectation, I thought, was that people were coming in to use restaurants and stuff or shopping and do the inner city thing prior to an event and after, in which case they would also be mainly on Cashel. So where did our modelling come from?
So most of the modelling assumes that, as you rightly say, that Cashel Street and Litchfield Street will carry that load of pedestrian activity. The vast majority, about 70%, is expected to come to and from the west. to Te Kaha across Madras Street, and that sort of makes sense. The reason around Litchfield Street is that it's the key link between the bus interchange and Te Kaha. And so a lot of the projections around expected flow for Te Kaha are around enhancing and increasing over the years the number of people that will arrive there by bus, but also west on Litchfield Street, which was the purpose of a couple of submissions,
what work have we
is 3 critical parking buildings.
What work have we done to work out how many will want to use the bus to go to events? And have we, and I know that VO have numbers on how people go to their events, have we put our modelling up against how people currently use VO venues and events?
Yes, we've talked with VO about the existing event arrangements, and of course this is a very different location. It's in the heart of the central city, and so one of the reasons Te Kaha is where it is in the recovery plan is because it's 400 metres from the bus interchange. So the real advantage of this is that you get direct access between the bus interchange and Te Kaha. But coming back to your question on Litchfield Street, there are 3 major parking buildings there as well. So those are the most attractive, convenient buildings for anyone arriving at Te Kaha to use. So then
my next question is on that, which is good, is with those parking buildings, have we modelled when an event is on and the bus exchange is apparently busy, all the car park buildings are full, how those vehicles get in and out? Because there's quite a bit of feedback currently on some particular streets in the inner city that they just don't move.
Yes, the original transport assessment, which I think was shared with council about 18 months, 2 years ago, it had arrival and departure profiles for Te Kaha. The arrival profile, as we would expect, is smoother.
Yep.
That we expect people to arrive early, spend time in town, have a meal, have a drink, then go to a concert or the game. The departure profile is the critical one, and that is that most people expect to leave Te Kaha, get back to their mode of transport, however they're getting out of town, or to their hotel within about 15 minutes. So it really is very peaky after.
So, and that's where the problem arises, is you've got all of them going out. I believe there's a recent event in town, I don't recall which one it was, where the exit time from one parking building to go one block was over 30 minutes, it was between 30 and 40 minutes. And that's not with a full stadium, that was just an event in town.
But the issue is, of course, that events on a weekday evening are taking place way after the evening peak. So the traffic levels, general traffic levels on the network are at a minimum.
Right.
Because you're at 10, 11 o'clock at night. So there's very little traffic on the network. So exiting people from those buildings, there's nothing in these proposals that actually limits the ability of people to leave those parking buildings. The capacity of them will be the exit capacity of the building itself rather than the capacity of the network to handle the traffic.
Okay, and then the other one is, on an event day, but the bigger ones, the smaller ones don't matter so much, but on the big ones, is Madras and Barbados open or closed?
Madras would be closed
Completely.
On exit from events at Te Kaha, but again, that's where we come back to the benefit of the event management plans, is that they're designed to reduce those effects around the design event of 15, 20,000 patrons, and smaller events, that it reduces the number of times that sort of plan needs to be activated.
Right, so Barbados...
Okay, maybe last question, Aaron, and then I've just got a couple of others that have them as well.
Okay, so in our bus planning, if there's an express bus from Rangiora or Kaipoi, wherever, and they're all full, are they all expected to go straight to the bus interchange and then all those people walk the 3 or 4 blocks, or do we bring them straight in Barbados and there's a drop zone right next to the stadium? So we're making it convenient for the customer.
Yeah.
Are we doing that?
So the arena is 400 metres from the bus interchange. Mm-hmm. So that's within the normal distance of walking distance to any bus stop anywhere in the city.
Okay, that's been asked and answered. Andre.
No.
Andre?
Also, so a slight follow-up question on that. I remember we were looking at a plan a number of months ago with coach parking, That's still the case.
Yes, that's still the case.
So that's what you meant, right? Direct buses.
That's what I just asked, I was told no.
So,
That was public transport. That coach parking is private hire.
No, sorry, I misunderstood you. I thought you meant metro
this is
services.
clarified. No, that's good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
specific express buses. Yeah. So still buses. I may have missed it, but I did have a look for it. In option 1 along Litchfield Street, will there be places for pickups, drop-offs, taxis, Ubers?
So that's kind of limited to one area outside kind of the kind of eateries, takeaways that are currently located there. And that's it for option 1 in terms of, there's a loading zone located just off Manchester Street as well.
Yeah.
And so there would be on Litchfield Street,
Yeah.
but a very small.
Very, like 2 opportunities to do pick up and loading.
Okay. Cool. And the speed limit of 10 k's, is that just for vehicles?
Well, it's all users of the road.
Or use the road? So you couldn't do a light jog through Litchfield Street?
You're probably the safest way to do a 10 kilometre through there,
Yeah.
but you're not going to cause too much other harm. But I don't think we
No.
should get.
But if you were running beyond 10 k's, would that quite literally be illegal?
Councillor, speed limits apply to vehicles.
So it only applies to vehicles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Lime scooters?
Its
Vehicle.
operation would be exactly the same as sections of Oxford Terrace and the laneways in the
Understood, yeah.
frames, and the traffic resolution would be around it being, which is before you today, around it being a shared zone street. And so, yes, it is enforceable.
Yeah.
But as we've briefed the panel previously, that's the benefit of the design, is the design lends itself to 10k feeling about right for people moving through there in a safe environment. If we have to enforce it, then the design has failed.
Yeah. And same for lime scooters? Capped at 10 k's? Yeah, cool.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we got one question from Phil.
That's quick.
And a quick question, then we're going to move on.
How wide are the lanes on the two-way bit of Litchfield Street, the option 3? How wide are they? Please. Because if they're extremely narrow, no one will use it anyway. So we're designing something that...
There'll be it'll be slightly wider for the tram, because the tram dictates the width, the available safe width needed. The remainder of the lanes will be designed as they have been in any of the central city streets post earthquakes, and that is they're broadly around 3.2 to 3.25 metres, and your standard maximum vehicle width is about 3/4 of a metre less than that.
Okay, no, thank you. That's good.
Okay, so I think we're there with questions, but that's been really useful actually, and really good questions around the table. So we do have an amendment. So we've got a mover and a seconder for the hearings panel resolutions, and we do have, which is option 3, and we do have an amendment from the mayor around the specific part of Litchfield Street. So do people want to debate? I'm going to regret asking this. Do people want to debate both of them, or do we want to just vote on the amendment and then wrap it into one debate at the end? Do you want to? Is it on the screen? Or?
Can you put the amendment up?
Yeah, we can show it, but it's several pages long.
No, the amendment is not several pages long.
Yes, it is, because it will need to include...
So the amendment is effective. Would you want to just very briefly?
It's not going to fly, but I'll do this for clarity, right? I want to move that we separate Litchfield Street from today's decision. I understand the committee secretary has the wording to do this from staff. Okay. This has been discussed, and I want to make it a clear decision either way and move forward. Do we keep this project in, I'm talking the Litchfield Street bit, or not? I've been advised, as all councillors have, that Waka Kotahi subsidy is not confirmed for the Te Kaha package yet. If Litchfield Street scope is removed or remains unconfirmed, it may impact the funding decision on the package due to the reduction of the benefits provided. Waka Kotahi have indicated they will not consider their decision on funding until we approve the works, all of it or some of it missing. We have heard from businesses and property owners in that area that they don't want this street done yet. So I want to make it a clear decision today on whether we do it or not. And if we do, we do. But at least we have made this decision formally.
Okay, so effectively what it is, and I'm just struggling to see which, you've got a map on the screen, which probably isn't helpful.
You can do that.
We'll just put it to a vote.
Can I just check though, because can we just have proper legal advice? Sorry, Helen, because if you are saying something, so the hearings panel recommendation is to do it, the amendment can't be to not do it. That would have to be a foreshadowed motion. An amendment could be to change how it's done,
Yeah, so
but
you
not
will
to
have
not do it.
you will have seen the email that came around on Monday from the Office of the Chief Executive outlining the resolutions. Yeah, which outlined it. So, I mean, Lynette, do you want to just speak just to clarify it so that everyone's aware of?
So just to clarify, the advice that went around said there's no reason that decision relating to Litchfield Street can not be split off, considered separately from other Te Kaha streets. In considering the option to separate the decision, in considering the option to separate, the decision making should take into account the following: that it does provide a key pedestrian link. So there's a number of things it takes into account. Three Waters need to renew water and wastewater infrastructure down there. While the road condition is good, it will have to be replaced at some point.
Sorry, I have read the email. It's just that email doesn't deal to the process at council of whether it's foreshadowed. It just says that we could make that decision, but I think that it legally has to be a foreshadowed motion
Well,
because
let's ask the lawyers. So
that's what I just asked. Yeah.
So we'll just wait for. Can we just wait? I'd just like to get the advice that Sarah wants first.
Through the chair, can we just be really clear? We're just talking about Litchfield West.
Yeah.
Yeah. We call it Litchfield Street West, and anything we do then that might make it a little bit clearer as well.
So we'll just. So Helen. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Steve.
No, I just want we clear one way or another going forward, so everyone knows one way. If we're in, we're in. So it's a.
I mean, people could vote against a specific resolution that's in the hearings panel recommendation if they don't want Litchfield Street done.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have an early morning tea and come back at 11. I think that's going to be best. Yeah.
Good go. Thank you.